Model car collectors, welcome to the Model Cars Houston podcast. I am your host, James. My job is to make sure you get the best information from the best sources when it comes to this hobby space. In this episode, I have a super exciting guest with us today. As director of some of the brands that you might be familiar with, such as Mini GT or their larger scale stuff from TSM Models, he brings a wealth of knowledge and expertise to model cars in general from start to finish. We'll be talking about some awesome topics today and providing you guys with valuable insight and perspectives from his point of view. Please help me in giving a virtual welcome to Mr. Glen Chou. Welcome,
Hi,
Mr.
Jen.
Chou. How are you today?
Good, good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, definitely. I'm so happy and excited to have you here with us today. Things have been looking very busy for you in 2023 so far, and it's just started, right?
Yes, I mean it's exciting. After a few years, we kind of grounded. Now the trade show start, the hobby show start. So I'm looking forward to visit shows, to meet with collectors, get everything back on track again.
Okay, well, let's just jump right into it. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and how you got started into the world of diecast and model cars.
Well, originally I want to study medicine, like some of family members, and then I decided that's not the right path for me. So I work in few different jobs. I work in restaurant business, hotel business, real estate business. Then I decided I want to try toy cars. It's like every kid's dream. Like I own a toy store and I have unlimited toys, so it's like I try with it. So actually, I started my business with RC cars. Then, and we work with some top distributors, wholesalers in US. But very soon, I found out I have no knowledge about computer chip, radio frequency, the control unit, those type of parts. So actually, I was not able to managing the production, the developments, because I only know about parts, the shape, the real cars, but not as a computer chip expert. So I left that business and decided to do something static, not moving. So I
Yeah,
came
yeah.
to the model car business.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, it's kind of strange how like things kind of can flip 360 on you when you're trying to pursue something that you're passionate about. First, you
Yes.
think you're on one path, and then boom, all of a sudden you're going into something completely different. Tell me about TSM and Mini GT. I guess, how did the names for those two brands come about, and what was the idea behind both of them? Obviously, Mini GT 64 scale, TSM some of the bigger stuff, but some insight from your mind.
Well, I mean, originally we started a business as a wholesale distributors for brands like Mini CMC, Ebros from Japan. Then
Mm.
after a few years, we got some of our own idea. We want to try to manufacture, try to learn how to make model cars. So then we started brand as True Scale Miniatures. Unfortunately, that's not easy name for overseas like China or Japan.
Mm.
So we kind of take the idea of how KFC kind of so we changed it to TSM model. And so we've been doing high-end premium models, anything from 1/8 scale to I think 143 scale was the smallest we used to do. And then we become like OEM suppliers. We work with different car companies for different OEM project as well. Then 5, 6 years ago, back then about 8 years, since 8 years ago, my customer had been asking me to do 164 scales, but at that time, I couldn't find a reason to do it. We were like, hey, we got enough 143, 118, 18, 112, it's plenty to do. Why one more scale? And so we never proceed with those suggestions. And until 5 years ago, when I have a boy, and then I was looking at my collection of model cars, I was like, well, I have nothing for my boy. Well, and and then so I normally use, because I'm a frequent traveler, so I always kind of accumulate all my points, and I use it once per year, all of them once in Hawaii. So every year I took like a 2 weeks trips using all my points with the family in Hawaii. So during that
Mm.
trip, I bought a couple Hot Wheels, green light, Johnny Lightnings, and play with it while I was working on my emails and just stuff. And I start realize it's an interesting process. For the last 10 years, when you start making models, you start get obsessed about making the perfect model. You start chasing the how good can I get the paint job, the detail, the shape, how many parts.
For sure.
Then I started to realize maybe I'm not at the exactly the right path because we we're creating hobbies, the model car for people who couldn't afford a real car. It's kind of the way we share the passion. We saw, costing us, $1 million or $500,000 to buy a real car.
Hmm.
And so our product, is getting better and better. It's getting ridiculously expensive. I mean, our 1A model, it costs $12,000 each. It's to a point. I was like, well, that's not hobby anymore. It's
Correct.
nice, but it's not what I like. And then I started
Hmm.
looking at the 164, and I realized like, we there's the manufacturing ability achieved to a point where we should able to produce 164 scale, have a good balance between quality, the shape, and then still maintain some reasonable price, some type of good balance. So when I come back, I call the license. I was like, well, first I call my customer and say, let's do 164. They're like, Glenn, what happened? I was like, yeah, I changed your mind. We're going to do 164. Then I called the license. I was like, I'm going to try it, but I don't know how many I can sell. So
Sure.
give me a hand. Let me try. And then and many car companies supported me. So I think I had about 8 or 9 car company agreed to give me license for 164 just within 7 days
Hmm.
of time. Then we
Hmm.
start running and get going since then. And the rest is just history. Everybody know Mini GT come out and been doing quite well, and makes quite different impact to the market.
Absolutely. I think 64 scale is definitely a good introductory point to people that maybe have collected Hot Wheels, but they want to get into something that's, got a little bit better detail, some different type of casting that they haven't seen before from Hot Wheels and stuff like that. So I think it provides a sense of the next stepping stone, for people that just want something of a little bit higher quality and that looks, visually nice when you take pictures and set it up and things like that as well.
Yes, I think it's a difference of. I mean, it's easy to assume it's small, so it's cheap or toyish.
Sure.
It's not. It's
Hmm.
small and quality. They are not directly related. It could be small and nice. It's just size. It's
Sure.
nothing to do with accuracy or quality. So, and it's probably a very good size for some of the countries where space is a premium. So, yeah.
And this is, I think, another reason why maybe, for example, 43 scale is typically a popular size for overseas, where space
Yeah.
is limited, where you can't have a lot of 18 scale model cars. Same type of logic.
But we also 40 scale is getting too expensive to a point. Yeah, I
Oh,
mean, when I
really?
started, 43 scale was about 35, $45, but now it's getting $100 each.
Is that because of the rising cost of just materials in general, production costs, or
It
what is driving?
everything, the rising cost, the accuracy.
Mm,
It's kind of like iPhone. The thing, first iPhone
yeah,
and then the
right.
current iPhone. So the model
And
get
always.
better and better and better. Like come with a cost,
Mm-hmm,
right? And then of
yep.
course the business become bigger on the model car market. Then the licensor could raise their fees. There's more check. For example, the model need to send about 3-4 times to licensor to check before they get approved. Each time it's $300 FedEx, $300 FedEx.
Oh yeah, for sure, absolutely. Do you see some of the 64 scales? Because I know you still support the 18 scale on TSM side. Do you see a lot
Yeah,
of the 64 scales possibly transitioning to 18 scales to still support that market? Obviously, I don't feel like every single one is going to transition into an 18 scale, but there's certainly some that would be really nice to have as an 18 scale model car.
I think traditionally you have people collect 43rd and 18 scale, and then but 64 to 18 is quite big gap. It's the size difference is so big. They
Hmm.
probably, I mean, from what I know, the people they probably only have few 118 for the car they absolutely love, but
Correct.
most of the time they rather to have their 64 models. Yeah.
When it comes to your arsenal of releases, when it comes to Mini GT or TSM models, there seems to be a nice, unique mix between the makes and models that release. I'm curious to know how does how do you as director figure out, or maybe with your team figure out what the best way to release the make and model coming up next? Like, how do you know what's going to be next in the pipeline? Do you guys just have like a huge list and you just kind of go one by one, or is there some market edition that comes into play for deciding what comes out? How does that work?
Well, I mean, it's not as a big science as everybody might think.
Sure. Sure.
It's a mix a little bit. Of course, we have a general direction, but
Hmm.
as a car enthusiast, model enthusiast, I always change it. I wake up at midnight and say, you know what, let's do this. Or I'll see something in the road. Say, you know what, we should do this. Let's put that on hold and change it. So the point doesn't really, it's kind of like more of placeholder just sits there. In case we have no
Mhm,
idea,
mhm.
then we follow the plan. But
Right.
most of the time, I would say 70% I'll just keep changing them. But I like it because one thing there's two message I try to deliver to the collectors through my range. One is um, I'm a car enthusiast, just like all these
Oh,
collectors.
yes. Yes.
I love sometimes. Well, friends who knows me better, they know in my company I normally allow myself to make 3 to 5 projects that I'm a little bit privileged as the owner of the company that just don't, throw the business case out of it. I want
Of
it, let's
course.
make it and then see what happens, kind of. But
Mhm,
I feel
mhm.
that puts me in a position can communicate with the collective better because of course, this is a business, but at the same time, I'm not a businessman just try to sell you product and product and product. And
Mm.
no, I mean, and another thing is for the years experience, even for myself, I constantly change tastes of the car. Like when I started, I only like Porsche and vintage Porsche. Then I learned about Formula One, and I
Mhm.
fall in love with classic Formula One, where we become good friends with Lotus and Terrell families. Then I learned
Mhm.
about Rolls Royce, where they had custom coach built body, and as I realized, oh, back then Rolls Royce, you get a chassis and that's it, and then you take it to the bodybuilder, and they will build you the custom body. Like
Uh-huh.
I need hunting Rolls
Yeah.
Royce, and my taste changes. So when I put together the collections, I want to offer collectors different type of cars. I want them to experience something a little bit different.
Mhm.
It may not be your cup of tea. You don't need 100 model of this type of car, but it's nice to have a few because it's actually quite cute or interesting or background history behind it, and will enhance or change their relationship, how they see car, how they like cars. So sometimes I collectors say, "Hey, Glenn, there's too many models. I cannot buy them all." And I was like, "No, no, no, no. I mean, thank you, but my goal is
Yeah.
not the intention is not for you to buy every single item number. It's I want to
Oh,
offer people a big variety, and then from that variety, you can assemble your own collections. Kind of like, oh, I only do, like American car, muscle cars, or I only do
correct.
endurance race car, or only do open wheel, plus this. Then you can have your unique collections. So it's not just model car, it's for a collector to learn more about car, you know, as a science and history. So I was spontaneous, just keep changing things, and otherwise, I often tell my friends like when we start Mini GT. I mean, yes, we do a lot of Liberty Walk, but I can make even more Liberty Walk if I want. But
Of course.
why I make a Bentley in the middle of Liberty Walk? Because we are
Right.
already setting that up for future. Like we want to make semi trucks, we want to make vans
Mhm.
or
Yeah.
yeah.
I think offering that variety is maybe what keeps Mini GT very, very active in terms of the product offering. Because I think like some brands are out there, they will milk the cast. They'll make the same thing over and over and over, different color, different livery, and things like this. But I think when it comes to Mini GT, the product offering is a good mix that may appeal to a general audience. And like you mentioned, it gives people an opportunity to experience for themselves some of the other types of makes, models, and styles that might exist out there. It's also important to note that I have the same mentality because, Model Cars Houston is a business too. It's locally owned and
Yeah.
operated by me. And the way I thought when I first began was I wanted to just get these beautiful model cars into the hands of people because it was such not, it was just the beginning of it. And the idea of having these higher quality, higher detailed products was like mind blowing. And I just as soon as I saw it, I just wanted to, okay, I need to let as many people know about this as possible. Let's all enjoy in something that finally is maybe for, the adults to be able to collect. I mean, Hot Wheels is still fun, but hey, check out these things. These are crazy. For a little bit more money, you can get something with better detail, higher quality, some of the fun cars that maybe you're not used to seeing. And selling is one thing, but just being able to expose it to people and introduce it to people and get them to be like, man, what is that? For the first time, they don't even know that it exists.
Yes, I mean, especially the 164. I even my
Yeah,
wife was telling me
exactly.
I changed a lot because I have many models just kind of like behind me, but they just sit there. They are like the beauty case and don't touch me, you might break it. So, but I
Uh,
found the Mini GT I can play with, roll it. I would one hand grab a Mini GT while I'm typing email or instant message, and it gave me new interaction with the model. No longer just sits there and I need to dust it once per year kind of situation. So I really enjoy it. It really, even for myself personally, it makes a big change and impact. After we start the
mhm,
Mini GT. Yeah.
mhm. You mentioned the word licensing a couple of times during your response. From your perspective, how licensing has been a topic that's been debated within the community. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's definitely there. You've got two
Yes.
sides. You've got the side that's like, oh yeah, I buy licensed stuff, legit stuff. I want to support, brands that are doing it the right way. And then you got the other side that's kind of like, well, I don't care. I just buy what I like. What is your stance on why? Okay, why is it important for model car brands to have licensing? This is the question.
Well, I mean, first of all, let me kind of explain the situation. Normally, a typical
Mhm,
model company like
mhm,
TSM and GT is we are kind of victim. We are in the middle, sandwiched in the middle between the collectors and licensors. We are um, we are kind of control. We have to respect the licensor's wish. At the same time, we try to come out the model for what collectors wants. So we are in the most difficult position in this whole equations. But at the end of the
mhm.
day, I see it kind of simple. I mean, I don't agree with every decision licensor have. I mean, we have a lot of different issue. Everybody sees differently, but it's their IP right. Kind of like Disney
Mhm,
owns Mickey Mouse. If they decided to
mhm.
turn it to black and white or make it 50 times bigger or rounded, that's their decision. It's their
Sure.
properties. Kind of like the photographer who shoot a photo or the artist painted the painting. That's their right, their design. So we had to respect that. We don't have to agree, but we had to respect it's their right. And 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 so for me, in order to have the balanced relationship with the licensor, I need to understand. I mean, we could have a good discussion, try to find some middle ground if there is a disagreement. But at the end of the day, we need to respect their wishes because that's how they want to build their brands. Um,
Mhm,
then they also don't do business with everybody, just like Disneyland don't license everybody too, right? To make a
mhm,
Mickey Mouse
mhm,
toy.
mhm, mhm. Yeah,
So
everybody would be.
yeah, so the way I see it is like if you don't like to buy a fake unlicensed Hello Kitty or Mickey Mouse toy, why you want to buy unlicensed model car? It's the
Mhm,
same idea.
mhm,
Um,
mhm,
the licensor, they review the product, they make sure. I mean, of course, it's a model car or toy car. It's not 100% the same like a real car, but at least there's a control of quality to what they expect. They can make sure if this meets their minimum expectation of quality of the product, they make sure everything's correct. You will not see a King Monster Energy logo on the car or or a
Yeah,
mutant
yeah.
power logo on a Mercedes, right?
Yeah, yes, yes, this exactly. 100%. Oh my gosh. Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So that's one of the problem. And so yes, I'm not saying the model without license is incorrect, but it's their decision how they want to deal with the relationship with license. But for me, I need to respect the creator, the owner, or the IP, and I need to show respect to each party. And so we always make the license product. Um, some people often kind of link the unlicensed product with inaccurate or horror product. That's also not entirely true.
Mm,
It's just
mm,
because a large part of those product is really, just kind of they try to make a quick sale, quick product get on the market,
exactly.
doesn't have the
Yep.
correct shape or correct design or even correct color.
Mhm,
Not all of them
mhm.
is like that. I also have to be clear with this. Model company should respect the right and should try to do the right way. Yeah.
Wow, funny enough, that's exactly the way I explain it. I feel like it's when you buy a licensed product, you're respecting what they've done and what they've gone through to make sure that you're getting a legitimate product. So I'm actually in the same exact mindset as you are when it comes to that stuff. You're right; they do make some strange, obscure combinations when it comes to the unlicensed stuff.
Yes, I had this discussion yesterday with a very premium brands, and then they're
Oh
like,
man.
we had this new model, and then we want the best model. I was like, what do you mean the best model? There's like, yeah, it's best,
Oh.
maybe even $9,000.
Oh,
I was
geez.
like, the whoever can afford a $9,000 model car, he can afford a real car. Don't forget
Of
the model
course.
car is for car fans who cannot spend $400,000
Right.
or $300,000 to buy a real car. So all this doesn't make any sense.
Oh no, absolutely. You
Yeah.
you mentioned
So
that when it comes to the licensing that, the people would wanna see to make sure that the quality is there, and when it comes to quality, I think, any brand is gonna suffer from some quality issues here and there. I think that's just the name of the beast. Any brand, anything when it comes not even model cars, it can be toys, it could be action figures, whatever. Something is gonna have some issue. I feel like Mini GT does a really good job when it comes to, explaining to its customer base some of the issues and what it is that you guys are going to do to try and correct it the best that you can. That makes sense. When it comes to quality, what do you think about it, and how does Mini GT make sure that quality is at maybe I don't know how you categorize it. Is it at the forefront of it whenever you're designing and putting a model car out there?
quality is a concept hard to quantify or explain it. Um,
Mm,
but I can give you some number because we finished the accounting for 2022. We
mm.
basically destroy 70,000 pieces of model car.
Oh
We
wow.
basically crushed them, destroyed it, 70,000 pieces.
Jeez.
And so there's a lot of effort. We don't come out and make it big and say sure, but there's a lot of effort in the background. Um, but unfortunately, it's an interesting balance because if the model car is simple, the structure is simple, you make it thick, you make it big, you make it big chunk, easier to make, then sure, it's simple, then it looks
Mhm,
ugly. The moment you make it more detailed, make it more nice, it gets difficult. You have bigger, margin of errors. It's as simple as that. That's why, um, you know, from Bentley to Ferrari, they don't talk about liability. I mean, reliable or
yeah.
because they
Yeah,
keep
yeah.
the best of everything, right?
Sure,
So,
sure.
do you think the hand stitched leather seat will be more durable than the machine stitched leather seats? I don't think so. So,
Yep,
you
yep.
know, you need to
Yeah.
rework like letter C probably 60 years later, right?
For sure, for sure.
Yeah, so the concept is the same. So when we are on one hand, we try to make a more detailed model part. On the other side, we are making the marginal error bigger and bigger, and it gets difficult to try to find a balance. Then you have the situation in China change frequently. That
Mm,
you face different problem every 2 months. And
mm,
mentality of the workers is always changing. One thing's a lot of people doesn't thought of it. You can imagine when the worker at the production line they see a one full scale model. Oh, it's expensive. Looks nice. Must cost a fortune. When they see a,
mm,
a, a 3-inch 164 toy, that mentality already kind of they are not going
mhm,
to treat that
mhm,
seriously. We always constantly educate them that no, it's mobile is still a premium model. Please do your best to make a good job in production. It's all those factors you need to factor in. So if you really look online and you go through products, and we are not perfect. We're still doing our best. We have external QC check. Um, we to be honest, we have like SGS and internal check. Our fail rate roughly is about 7 to 9%. slightly higher, but it's nothing crazy out of control unless there's some accident or some big mistake
Mhm.
during the production process.
Mhm.
I normally fall between that. But at the same time, I understand it's a unique product that, for example, if you buy the $700 or $900 iPhone, it's no brainer you spend $25, send it back, have it repaired. But if it's a 12 US dollar, 10 US dollar, 164, you're not gonna spend $8 or $6, send it back for replacement. That don't make
Right.
sense.
Right.
But at the same time, this is just like a product, just like a phone, like a mouse, like a keyboard. It would
Mhm.
have a great, and it irritates you because you love the product so much, you are so excited, but when you open, there's a flaw in between. To make things worse, sometimes we have trouble identify what exactly caused the damages. Some of them is yes, some of them
Right.
is really,
Mhm.
some of them just poor
Obvious.
shipping, or I mean, you could have people drop it and put it back and then pack it like a new, try to sell it,
Yep. Yep.
and
For
so
sure.
when you add it, it becomes a very difficult situation for us to handle and try to service the customers. And then you have customers who could be in London and try to save few bucks and mail order from China, and then the local distributor refuse to service it and say, hey, you want to save the 4 US dollar you buy from China, then so sometimes I would tell the customer, say, hey,
Mhm.
but have some understanding. Today, if I order a Sony TV from China and send to London, I don't think Sony UK gonna warranty me for the
Correct.
TV.
Yeah, exactly. Right, right.
Yeah, so it's a lot of things in that topic. But on the one hand, we try to show when we have a major problem, we
Mm.
always very outspoken. We tell people we're going to recall. And to be honest, I have to be very honest. 80% of the time, our distributor or dealer get upset. They're like, "When
Oh,
it's
really?
okay, fine, things happen. You're making
Yeah.
extra work." I say, "No, no, no. I mean, that decision is customers. If there's a big mistake, there's a problem, we offering exchange or parts. It's customers' decision if they want to exchange it or not. But I must offer the options to the customers.
Of course.
And they can make their own decision. That's the very minimum I can do. Yeah. So it's not. But of course, we also on some hand there are some customer is very demanding. So we always try to
Mhm.
kind of have a discussion. Say, hey, we also need to find some balance. After all, this is only
Sure.
$12. It's not 50 or 90 US
Right,
dollar.
right.
It
Yeah,
might look
exactly.
very nice, but please. Also, we have to have
Yes, of course. Yeah.
expectations, in betweens. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's great that you guys are transparent about some of the QC issues, and that you guys aren't avoiding it or ignoring it, and that you're acknowledging a lot of the issues the best that you can. Because at the end of the day, QC problems is something that cannot be 0%, right? There's always going to be something, and unfortunately, somebody is going to get pulled the unlucky card when they open their package and they find out, oh my gosh, my car, the seat fell off or something like that, right? It's just part of the game, nature of the game. But I think, like, for me, I think it's great that we do have the feedback and opportunity to be able to deal with the customers directly. If they have some issues, then we can be the funneling up point to be able to voice this to Mini GT or the distributors to find out, what can we do about this if it is a major issue. So definitely good to know.
Yeah, we always encourage collectors to buy from reputable dealer like you guys because, to be honest,
Mhm.
if the product history means they purchasing from the right channel, the dealers, the distributor recognize the product, we actually
Yeah.
most of the time internally there's not much question asked. We say no problem. You have 20 pieces need to refund. We credit
Right.
back, or if you
Done.
must need it,
Hmm.
we'll find someone FedEx to you. It's no problem. But you
Correct.
start exposing yourself to risk when you try to save few dollar and buy it from dealers unknown. So please
Right.
also
Yes.
exercise some cautious, like look around, buy it from kind of like eBay or Amazon too, right? You want to
Oh,
buy
for
it
sure.
from a reputable seller, and that's important, not just the cheapest. That's one of the
Uh-huh.
problem with modern e-commerce. You can filter and sort the
It's
price
everywhere.
in one
AliExpress is
second, and
another example.
uh, yeah.
Mhm. I see. The good thing about this is, the transparency is really good. And one of the things that I noticed from you, Glenn, is that you're always on the battlefield. It feels like you're at the forefront of all the events, and Why do you think it's important? I mean, because you as a director, I feel like maybe some directors are just, in the background, pulling the strings and making sure things are happening. But you seem to be like on the boots on the battlefield doing things. Why do you think it's important that you're up at the forefront as director and not just, hanging out in the background and making sure your people aren't taking care of everything? Why is it important that you're there too?
Well, I kind of see the model car business a little bit similar to the fashion business. You know how the fashion business normally you have a lead
Mm,
designer and they'll
mm,
dictate the taste, the image of the whole brand.
mm.
I feel the model car business, that's how I see model car business. I want my customers, the collector, understand I'm also enthusiast of cars, not just try to sell them product. At the same time, I
Right,
want
right,
to
right.
understand, everybody's purchasing behavior, like what kind of car, the ideas, what we can do more, or this being overlooked, or they be a fun, interesting idea that I never knew of. So it's important for me to be at the events, meeting car company, meeting collector, meeting real car owners. So I get myself excited, and all that exciting experience will transfer to my product. So we get new people, every few months, and when they come into our company, they start understanding what other stuff's telling them, because Glenn always come out and throw you with some crazy ideas.
It's a challenge.
Yeah, I mean, in Nuremberg, I was asking my engineer, are we able to fit a wind turbine model into our Mini GT truck? Yes. Look, I mean, you probably see it on Lego, but if we're going to do a real 164 series, you know how big that thing
Mm.
going to be?
Yeah, yeah, right, yep.
So, and so I was like, yeah. And then I said, can we maybe get like a Black Hawk helicopters, and then I want to put it in the back of the roller. And I was like, they were like, "Look, like you will need to get a license for helicopters." So I was like,
Yeah.
then we will be entering, military a model
Right.
in
A
the
completely
oh
different
shoot.
industry. Yeah.
Yes. So, but I think that's a beauty, that's a fun that I want to embed it into the range, the selection of the car, the way to design the cars, and that's important. I mean, I couldn't really explain it. There are some brands that they go to second generation or third generation, which they are not as passionate about car or model, and somehow the
Mm,
product just shows kind of flat. You don't feel anything
mm.
about it. You're just looking at the box with a photo or drawing, and that's it. And there are brands, when you look at it, you're like, oh my God, that's a cool idea. I must have this.
Yes.
and,
Yes.
and I can explain it. So I try to do the same, that I just try to keep myself always on the ground, meeting people.
Mm,
One, share my idea, my philosophy. And second is I want to keep myself exciting, so that energy will transfer to the product, to the brand. Yeah.
yeah. I think it's awesome that you're like that. I don't think I see any other brands directors doing that at the forefront, unless I'm just not seeing it because maybe they're overseas and you're over here stateside most of the time. But what exactly is Sunrich Toys and Hobby? Because me as Model Cars Houston, just so everybody knows, I am a reseller through Sunrich. That's where I get my top speed models from, my TSM models. What is Sunrich is? Explain what Sunrich is exactly. How does it work
Well,
between
Sunrich
Sunrich
is
and Mini GT and TSM?
Sunrich is basically the business identity. That's where we started the business, and TSM and Mini GT is the brands owned by Sunrich. So kind of like they are brands. Like Gillette owned
Okay.
by P&G.
Ah, got it, got
That
it, got it, got it.
kind of
Yeah, yeah,
situation.
yeah.
So the
Mhm.
business entity is Sunrich Toys and Hobby, and then we own Husby, TSM, Mini GT, these brands. Yeah,
Okay, makes sense,
and
makes
then
sense.
and then in order, the Sunrich, we have different part of business. I already mentioned, besides TSM, we have like OEM. So we are actually supplier for about 60% of the car company in the world for OEM
Oh,
business.
wow.
For
Congratulations.
example, single car manufacturer in UK is our customer.
No, that's
As
nice. That's
big
good.
as Jaguar Land Rover, as small as Morgan, it's all our customers. We supply them the OEM models. Then we also have a part of business which we act as the importer and distributors for like Spark, Techno Model, some of those foreign
Mhm.
models we imported in the US.
Absolutely. I think maybe can you give us a like a top down of the process for creating a model car from start to finish? I just wanted to give guys an understanding of how that works because maybe it's simple than it is, maybe it's not, but just some
Well,
overview, high level, high
it
level.
depends on where, but in a simple way, basically, we normally you start with the idea, then you submit the ideas to the licensor, say, hey, for example, there's a new skyline, we want to make it. They approve it, you complete agreement with them, and then data will be varies. For example, some car companies will provide you the data. Some car companies they say, hey, no, I give you the license,
Mm.
but you are on your own for data, or they don't approve.
Oh, yeah.
If I'm making a 1950 Bugatti, there's no CAD. I need to find a real
Mhm, mhm,
Bugatti
mm.
with photo and material and 3D scan. And then from there, we start with CAD design, kind of like just like any other modern industrial product. You make a CAD, design the shape, then you need to submit it to licensor for review on the CAD. Then they approve it. Then you make the first non-color prototype sample. So trying to like give me a second. Actually, it's a good
Sure,
idea. We have
no problem.
uh, so you make a non-color prototype sample kind of like this.
This is a clay model?
Yeah, kind of like clay, but it's not clay. So then this is for you to the first time you see a physical shape. So you start check the shapes and make sure. I mean, what you see on computer may not exactly the same as when you translate into a physical
Mhm,
product. So that's where we
mhm.
check the shape, make sure everything is the way we want it, and then this also get checked by the licensor again, and then gets okay for everything. Then we start the tooling process to create a mold. Then when the molds, let me see, when the molds finish, you have unpainted parts, kind of like this. So when the molds finish, they need to do a test shot. So they will have like unpainted model, like this BMW, it's all
Mm,
unpainted.
mhm.
They need to check the fitting of all the parts, and they need to modify them all. So this is a process probably take 45 to 50 days just to do that. It depends, if you do it right or you got a very lucky day, it might only take you, not too many problems. You get it done in about 5 days. Or you could come out and say, oh
Mhm.
my God, so many problems and back and forth.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Then after this is done, it's where the graphic team at the same time they start doing decoration design, the stripe, the colors, and that's where we need to prepare the color chips either from our color chip library, or we had to request it from licensor, or we had to go out to buy it.
Mhm. Oh, wow,
So
yeah.
yeah, so we had to buy like gallons of paint just to make a couple color paint chips.
Sure,
And then
sure.
not every license will give you the data you need. And some of them could give you everything, some will just give you nothing. Just say, hey, you have a license to proceed, and
Sure.
that's it.
Ah,
And
right.
then we create a couple color prototype. You need to go through adjustment. Then when everything is all good, sign off, we can start the productions, which normally takes about. It depends. Normally about 60 to 80 days. Depends on the situation in China, the factory, the how complicated the model is, and then and go from there. Yeah. So that's a like
How
more general.
how about the packaging? The packaging design, that's someplace done in the middle, I'm guessing, the packaging?
Yeah, the packaging design for Mini GT, we basically have I think like with quite standardized packaging.
Mhm.
So it
Yeah.
just they have to edit the product probably in a step where they start the color samples. Yeah.
Mhm. One of the things I noticed is when it comes to production, some of the quantities can vary in terms of pieces. Like sometimes I see 1,200 pieces, sometimes I see 3,000 pieces. What determines how many pieces you make for certain model cars?
Well, I mean, we have few type of product. The general product basically we take a pre-order. and then we use a pre-order as a base to decide a final
Mm,
quantity, and then from there to for production. Then you have the limited edition or exclusive item number, where we set as a limited edition quantity to cap the production quantities. Then you have the very rare one, which 1,200 or few hundred pieces.
mm,
Those is
mhm.
actually not really a business product anymore. Those in our company, those basically it's a marketing budget, because we are way below the MOQ. We basically
Mm.
losing money for every piece we sold. But it was created for marketing purpose, for brand, for celebrate an event, a special situation, kind of like my director's gift. That's one of the car. I
Nah,
don't
yeah.
know how. I told them, don't tell me, make it, and I don't want to see the
Oh,
invoice, send it to a.
it's a surprise. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
What?
So, some customer questions like, well, you have this, you do 1,200 pieces. Why the? I was like, no, no, no. I mean, we lose money on all those. Those are really as a not really a real business product.
Ah, this is interesting. Yeah, that's good. One of the other things that I see a lot that you do is you do a lot of collaborations. I've seen Kaido House has been really, really involved in some of the stuff that Mini GT has been producing out. I think I saw something with like Playboy even and something like that. Why is it important to have these collaborations with different people? Does it give you a fresh view of things or?
Well, it's all, I mean, collaboration. At the beginning, we do try to cooperate with different brands just to explore. It's also a way for us to communicate and learn how different model makers make their
Mm,
model cars, or we learn different cultures. Like we try to cooperate with Ebro in the past, try to learn about Japanese racing. Then to a point, I start to feel like um, it's not very productive for me, for brand as well. In fact, we are not learning a lot. So later stage of the Mini GT, you can see we done a lot of cooperate with other brands. But Tidal House was the one very unique. It's one of the most successful cooperation, because
mm,
it was operate in the way I wanted, the way I envisioned. Because when I met with June, and he's like, "Oh yes, let's collaborate, and we want to make some model car.
mhm.
And then can you show me, what kind of tooling you have, and we can." No, 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 I don't want to show you what I have. I said, "You are a designer. Design the model." He's like, "Yeah, no, 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 no. I'll make it happen. Draw it, design it, and I'll make it happen." And
Okay.
that's the kind. I said, "I don't want another Mini GT model with a different name on it.
Right,
That's
right.
that makes no sense. That's stupid. That's creating
Mhm,
item number to
mhm,
make sales.
mhm.
That's not what I
Yep,
need." So
yep,
I
yep.
said, I don't care if we have the same part. I want the title house way. So I basically, and Jim was a bit surprised about it, but of course he was very happy, and I was very happy because when you come out, it's not another Mini GT with special graphics.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a different philosophy, different concept, target different type of collector, and it's his interpretation of model car, not mine, and which makes it unique. And my job is turn his imagination into reality. That's my job as the partner in this project.
Mhm.
So it worked out very well for us, and I was very very happy with the outcomes, and it there because Mini GT for me is we're creating scale model of a real car, the shape and the function and stuff. At the Kaido house, you basically can have this wild idea and create, some of the crazy
Exactly.
thinking
Yeah.
design, and then
Mhm.
turn it, and it will work with the brand very well. So I'm having fun of the both sides.
Absolutely. I think
Yeah.
I think it works well with June because June, he used to do a lot of customs and things like that. So it fuels his creativity to be able to express, something unique from his perspective in his mind, and then you guys are there to help him actually create something physical.
Yeah, and I mean we are the collaboration. We will continue work with some of the brands, kind of like Playboys, and because they are 70 years
Mhm.
anniversary for this year, and it's
Oh,
also year of
right.
Rabbit for Chinese. So and we working. We are right now in discussion with couple iconic brands to have
Oh, perfect.
cooperation.
Cool.
So for me, it's either the brands, iconic brands, the colorful theme or design to decorate the car, or design on the model, kind of like Title House. We're looking for partners that can really create unique product in Mini GT line. Not no longer just like, I want to put three logo and change the box to, Mini GT times
Right.
what, and
Mhm.
yeah, for me that no longer interested us. It's not, earlier we're talking about passion and offer customer a unique model, and that no longer fits
Experience, yep.
that direction I want. That's why we are more conservative now, taking people's approach. When they come to us, there's many company want to work cooperation with us, but we kind of be
Oh, for
conservative
sure.
about it.
As we land the plane, you were
Yeah.
talking about future collaborations and things like that. What is the future for Mini GT, TSM, and just you in general? Is there anything that you can share? I know I don't want to talk about top secret things, but
No, I mean, for me, this year we are focusing on expanding the race car range. For us, that's important because
Mm,
now we feel the production, everything's kind of in a place where we want to show people. I mean, we already have JDM, we have luxury car, we have hypercar, we have truck.
mm,
It's time for us to expanded. That's why we are making Formula One, making prototype, race car, WRC rally cars. That I feel is a big chunk of our culture, and of course drifting, D1, Formula D, and
yes, yep.
so that will be our main focus. And I feel by end of this year that the Mini GT range will be very fairly complete. I cover in different direction. That my goal is to offer every order sheet that we have mix of many different cars. You could have
Oh,
American
wow,
classic,
yeah.
an open wheel,
Uh,
a race car, and customer can choose very
mhm.
different parts from each order sheets. That's we're still heading to that target.
Do you have a number in mind of how many castings you have? Like, is it 30 new castings? Is there like an
Oh,
estimated?
I can openly tell you, we have this never ever to finish, never ending list of the tools, and you
Okay,
get to move around. And I can honestly
sure.
tell you, there's roughly about 70 casting on the list,
Oh
pending
my
confirmation.
gosh.
Yeah, our
Okay.
our engineering team, which I really appreciate, and we create roughly about 6 new casting per month.
Oh my goodness.
But in
Okay,
that
yeah.
speed, we still couldn't catch up. Yeah, because there's always things we need to modify and changes, and there are some casting we created for OEM service that don't show, and some of them will is in the mini GT line. But that list,
Mhm.
after 4 years, my guy is like, Glenn, I don't think we can. There's no way we can finish everything. He's always changing, always new stuff. Like kind of like we are almost wrapping up our design on the 2022 Formula One. But now
Mm.
2023 starts. So we're like, okay,
All right. Sorry.
23 cars coming in.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So just the last 10 days, I got 9 different CAD data from 9 different race cars.
Oh my
That
gosh.
nine casting,
So
we need to do this.
it looks like the diecast community has a lot to look forward to, and that this hobby is super healthy. Like it's really starting to turn into something special for everybody. I feel like. What is it? Okay, obviously there's going to be more things to come from you guys, and I'm wondering what is your biggest accomplishment so far when it comes to a cast. I guess you could say, like, what was the one that was like the hardest one to get, but you finally got it done, and it was finally released, and it was like, oh my god, this is my favorite one so far. That's tough question,
Well, I mean,
probably.
yeah, it's actually I think the car. I think a lot of people love this. Bugatti was the most difficult one.
Ah, okay,
It
yep,
was
sure.
really, really difficult because now when you see the hand sample unpainted, you can see all the shape and
Mm,
curve.
oh,
So when we
mhm,
cast it, we had to
mhm.
make sure all the lines still sharp and nice. Then after we finish that, we realized we need to find a way to put all the carbon fiber on this irregular shape body. And then we had to experiment how to do the blue carbon fiber line, and we back forth 4 or 5 times, and we couldn't get it right, and we were puzzling why, because we do have the right color, because they give us the color code. Then I start realize the portion where the base color and the carbon fiber lines proportion, the ratio is wrong, because it's 164. There's limitation.
Mhm, mhm.
So end up, the line is occupying more, you know, portion racially than the base color, the background color. So we actually do it the reverse way. We painted the line color light blue as a base color, and we printed the dark blue as the line, and it come out much better. So
Oh, okay.
it's a lot of work. It's
Oh
back
my
and forth.
goodness, yeah. But
So
you're
and
trying to get
then
it right, so
yeah, so it was very difficult. It's very challenging, but it's kind of like this. It's like after this one, it's much easier for the team and the factory to do
mhm,
something similar. It's like
mhm.
you are level up, and but it
Right, right,
was
right.
really hard. There's a lot of expectation from Bugatti, but then after that car, they love us so much. Like, say, you see, we have all this Bugatti car, but yeah, that was the biggest challenge for me on the Mini GT side.
Oh, wow, that's great. Yeah, I'm sure more challenges to come. More challenges to come and overcome.
Well, I saw the Mercedes-Benz launch their Formula One car with all naked carbon fiber. I was like, oh
Oh
my
my
god.
gosh. And they're gonna come to you and be like, "Hey, Glenn, how can we make this happen?"
I was like, oh shoot, yeah.
So, Glenn, I know you're a very busy guy. I want to ask, where can people find you? How can they support you? Where can they find you?
Well, we have, I mean, of course, there's a Mini GT Facebook and Instagram, but I
Mm,
also have my
yep.
own Facebook and Instagram. We kind of do it on official way, where I share what I like about cars, or place I've been to, or
Mhm,
some background story about the development process or decision I
mhm,
need to make. And that
mhm.
would be a good place, because the purpose for me to create it is, I want to share some insight for some collector wonder what's the life like being a model car businessman and maker,
Yeah, yeah,
what
exactly. Yep.
and also help them to understand the challenge and difficult. It's not as straightforward, simple as they think. At the same time, I would like to share some, places I've been to, and some of the backgrounds information with fans.
Mm.
So it's a fun place. So that would be a good place to communicate with. But please, sometimes I'm sorry, I get a lot of message, but I I I am not able to reply them in time or all of them.
Of course,
So I
of
just
course.
apologize to everybody first. If you send me a message, and please be patient, I'll try to get to it.
Well, thank you, Glenn, and thank you everybody for listening in on this podcast. We will see. I'll put everything down in the show notes, but we'll see you on the next one. Thank you, Glenn.
Thank you. Bye.